Budget shortfalls prompt a rare special session. Oklahoma's plan to revamp education spending, and an OU alum bids for state office. This is OU Nightly. Preparations are underway at the state capitol in advance of a rare special session of the Oklahoma legislature that will confront a massive shortfall in the state's budget. Oklahoma Governor Mary Fallin called for the special session to convene in 7 days to address a $215 million budget shortfall that threatens to cripple the state's government.
The shortfall comes after the Oklahoma Supreme Court ruled that the proposed $1.50 tax per pack of cigarettes bill as unconstitutional. The cigarette fee was expected to generate $200 million of revenue for the state budget. Governor Fallin said she would like to see lawmakers agree on long-term budget solutions at the special session to fund a pay raise for public school teachers.
Argued for an increase in the gross production tax on oil and gas industry. Republicans have been more resistant to that approach and have discussed alternative ways of maybe raising that revenue.
That special session will take place a week from today at the state capitol.
With a lack of state funding, the Oklahoma State Department of Education has taken its new plan to the federal government. The department submitted its goals in an outline of its 8-year plan. The plan calls for an emphasis on serving individual student needs. State Superintendent Joy Hoffmeister says the agency is trying to develop a plan to ensure Oklahoma students and schools succeed.
And the Oklahoma State Bureau of Investigation is looking into the shooting of 2 Oklahoma police officers. The OSBI says that the officers were shot Sunday while serving a search warrant to 61-year-old Alex Warren Klinger. Klinger opened fire and the officers returned fire. Officials say one officer has been taken to OU Medical Center, but both officers' names and their condition have yet to be released.
New court records show the FBI searched Oklahoma ex-Senator Ralph Shorty's Capitol office and found child pornography. Senator Shorty resigned in March after police caught him with a 17-year-old male in a motel room. He faces 3 counts of possession of child pornography and 1 count of child sex trafficking. But Shorty has not pleaded guilty. It's been a little wet the past 24 hours. I don't know about you, Joe, but that thunderstorm was loud. It kept me up last night a little bit.
And this morning having to get up, get an umbrella, get a rain jacket, only to see clear skies at around noon.
Clear skies.
Carolyn, can you tell us a little more about that?
Yeah, so we had a front blow through last night. It didn't really change our temperatures too much, but we did see quite a lot of rain. Lawton saw around 2 inches of rain. Here in the central Oklahoma, we saw a little bit over 1/4 inch of rain. It did help keep our temperatures down though. So this is the system that blew through earlier this morning. We aren't expecting any more rainfall for the rest of today into this evening. So it's going to stay nice and dry. Coming up though, I'm going to give you an update on the tropics. You can see Jose is getting very close to the coast, to the east coast right now. But for us,
thank you, Caroline. And yesterday was Constitution Day, and in spirit, Meacham Auditorium is holding its annual Constitutional Crisis Lecture. Jaycie Bayless joins us now from Meacham. Jaycie?
That's right, guys. Say right behind me in Meacham Auditorium, about 150 students and faculty members have gathered. They've gathered to watch a lecture entitled, "What is a Constitutional Crisis, and Are We in One?" Say lectures like this are held annually in honor of Constitution Day, which, as we mentioned, was yesterday. This is put on by the Institute for the American Constitutional Heritage and the Department of Political Science. These groups have brought Stephen Vladeck this year. Vladeck is a professor at UT School of Law who specializes in national security law and federal jurisdiction. In his free time, he manages to be the CNN Supreme Court analyst. That's all I have. Back to you in the studio.
More on that lecture.
And Harlee Toothman joins us now in the News Center with more on Donald Trump's first presidential visit to the United Nations. Harlee.
The president's 4-minute speech included a call for reform of the United Nations. Trump told the General Assembly the UN has grown too bureaucratic and ineffective over the years, and that the U.S. is not seeing results in line with its investments. Trump met with French President Emmanuel Macron this afternoon. Over the next 4 days, he will meet with numerous world leaders, including Israel's Prime Minister Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. In St. Louis, protests continue for a fourth day. 80 people were arrested last night. Protests follow Friday's not guilty verdict of Jason Stockley, a former white police officer who shot and killed Anthony Lamar Smith, a black man, in 2011.
We have work to do here in the city. We need more and better opportunities for all of our citizens, but destruction cannot be tolerated.
The protests, which have at times turned violent, forced U2 singer Ed Sheeran to cancel concerts. An investigation continues after a Georgia Tech student was shot and killed by campus police over the weekend. 21-year-old Scout Schultz was outside a dormitory with a knife when police arrived following a 911 call. Schultz continued to walk after police repeatedly screamed for Schultz to drop the weapon. Schultz later passed away at a hospital. That's what's happening around the world. Now back to you in the studio.
Thanks, Harlee.
And still ahead on OU Nightly, on the heels of hurricane season damages, U.S. officials are struggling to foot the bill on repairs.
Plus, one OU alum is going from student government to state representation.
A former OU student government president plans to run for the state legislature.
Hi, I'm Daniel Pay.
Daniel Pay, a 2017 graduate, was student government president in 2016. He announced on Facebook that he will run for the District 62 House seat. Pay is running as a Republican. He says he will focus on education, military, and small business. District 62 includes Lawton and the surrounding areas.
The Oklahoma State Fair is up and running, and OU Nightly's Kyle Payne shows us what it takes to prepare those fun fair rides for the crowds.
It's quiet at the fairgrounds today. Vendors finishing up their booths, food carts are being prepped, and inspectors are taking their time to check each and every ride. This morning, the Oklahoma Commissioner of Labor gave me the opportunity to test the safety of these rides for myself. The Oklahoma Commissioner of Labor spoke on behalf of the state's efforts to ensure safety for all patrons.
So an Oklahoma ride has to be registered, it has to have insurance, and then it has to have a Department of Labor inspector who goes on site to inspect that ride before it can go into operation.
Because of Oklahoma providing their own inspections, the Department of Labor invited legislators from across the state who appropriated money for these inspections. District 43's representative came this morning to not only make himself feel better about the rides, but to bring confidence back to fairgoers from his district.
Actually, in my own district, I've had some constituents who've been asking me about, the rides and the fear about putting their kids on them. And so being able to come out and actually look at the inspection, that's something that's nice to be able to go and talk to folks back home.
And just like the inspectors promised, all the passengers arrived back safe and sound. Kyle Payne, OU Nightly.
State Fair runs through September 24th. Shea Smith joins us now in Money Matters with the latest on the financial chaos that this fall's hurricane season has caused. Shea?
Yes, it is no doubt that Hurricane Harvey and Irma have caused a tremendous amount of damage. But how much exactly and who is going to pay for it? The federal government's flood insurance program has paid out $204 million to date for Harvey alone. And the total cost from Harvey is anticipated to hit $11 billion. Homeowners who have flood insurance are covered up to $2,500,000, but not everyone has coverage, and not everyone, as in 82% of Floridians, are without insurance. For private homeowner insurance, there is no exact dollar sign, but an estimated $25 to $35 billion in damage from Irma will be lost, and Harvey over $10 billion. And as of 4 days ago, FEMA has over 889,000 applicants for assistance from Irma and Harvey, and Congress has already shelled out $15 billion in disaster aid for Texas. And if history is any indication, the stock market could be in for some volatility. Senior marketing strategist at LPL Ryan Detrick claims the summer doldrums are reaching an end. The fourth quarter is expected to be the strongest on average for S&P 500. The S&P is currently up 1.4% this month, which is a record high. The Federal Reserve will start unwinding the $4.5 trillion balance sheet, which will be the first time in central bank attempts unwinding at this level. level. Tension between the U.S. and North Korea could also be dangerous for investors. And every child's dream store may close its doors. Reports out Tuesday claims Toys R Us is considering filing for bankruptcy. There's speculation that the store has hired a bankruptcy law firm to look at reconstructing options. As with every other store, Amazon.com has hurt the toy store giant. Analysts also point out that kids these days are leaning more towards game consoles and technology, not the stuffed animal Disney characters and other more traditional toys. And it is the end of an era. The iconic magazine Rolling Stone is up for sale. For nearly 50 years, the magazine has been a voice for music lovers with some pop culture and politics added in. Jan Wenner, the magazine's co-owner, says he hopes to find a buyer that understands Rolling Stone and wants to find the right home for the magazine to build on a strong foundation. Now, you all, when I heard that news about Rolling Stone, I was shocked, completely shocked. It's crazy.
It is an end of an era.
It really is.
Well, thank you, Shea.
Thank you.
And a man is dead after falling on top of a moving train in northwest Oklahoma last night. The Oklahoma Highway Patrol has identified the Woodward man as David Dwayne McCullum. Officials don't know why McCullum was on top of the train. The investigation is ongoing, though.
Still ahead on OU Nightly, OU Sooners keep up the momentum.
Plus, Caroline Brown will join us next to let us know when we can expect those cool fall temperatures. Don't go anywhere.
So it's turned out to be a beautiful afternoon. We had a very gloomy morning for most of us here in Oklahoma, but currently clear skies, 85. It stayed a little bit cooler due to those cloud covers we saw earlier this morning. Elsewhere in the weather department, we are tracking the tropics. We have Tropical Depression Lee, but that's expected to dissipate in the next couple of hours. We have Maria, which has recently become a Category 4 hurricane in the Caribbean. And closer to the mainland, Jose is rapidly approaching the East Coast. Now, we've been watching Jose trek across the Atlantic for quite a few days. It's finally getting closer to Massachusetts around now. It's currently a Category 1 hurricane. So most of the East Coast has a tropical storm watch for the upcoming days. It's expected to turn into a tropical storm, though, quickly. This is Maria right now, a Category 4 hurricane. It's tracking through the Caribbean and expected to make a direct landfall with Puerto Rico. So these islands really don't need the rain, especially because these places were heavily impacted by Hurricane Irma. For us here in Oklahoma right now, though, staying pretty warm. We're in the upper 80s for the most part. We have a strong south wind, though, that's going to help keep us warm overnight. It's gusting up to 20 miles an hour in some places. So tonight, expect a very gusty night. Our temperatures are going to stay pretty warm in the lower 70s. A lot above average, about 10 degrees above average. As you're walking out the door tomorrow, I'd get out earlier rather than later, especially if you're planning on exercising, because if you wait too long, we're going to get up to 92 tomorrow afternoon. Those winds could be gusting up to 25 miles an hour as well. Throughout the rest of the state, we could see 95 up there in Enid. For the rest of us, we're going to stay around in the mid-90s. So the upcoming days, it's going to be very hot, slight chances for showers in the mornings, but then we might start to cool down a little bit, especially because Thursday is the first day of fall. So our temperatures could be getting highs in the 80s next week.
I am looking forward to some nice, cool fall weather. Those low 70s, that's my cup of tea personally.
I mean, yeah, this is the perfect time, I like to think, that fall or summer to fall transition where you kind of get to enjoy those last couple of days where it's 90 and those high 80s. So I'm looking forward to it.
Okay.
It will be nice.
Well, thank you so much, Caroline. And Tori Johnson is here next with a look at what's coming up in sports. Tori?
Hey y'all, it was a slow start, but OU finished strong with a big win over Tulane Saturday. Don't go anywhere because I've got your game highlights coming up. Sports is right around the corner. Welcome back. In the first game since the Ohio State win, expectations were high for the Sooners. It was not the start many had expected. Tulane came out gunning for the OU and led 14-7 in the first to tie it up. Baker Mayfield throws a 22-yard touchdown pass to C.D. Lamb, his second touchdown of the game. The next touchdown came from the defense. Parnell Motley intercepts the Green Waves' Jonathan Brantley. He runs it back for 67 yards. Maybe this play is what sparked the defense. They came out flat in the first quarter, but dominated Tulane in the second half. The defense forced 3 turnovers, sacked Brantley 3 times, and allowed only 67 yards of offense. And sitting pretty at 49-14, Coach Riley puts in QB2, Kyler Murray. And he showed us he's got an arm. Murray lets it fly 87 yards to Marquise Brown. OU wins 56-14. And today, head coach Lincoln Riley spoke about how his team responded to that early game adversity, while Baker Mayfield commented on that other school and their Heisman contending quarterback.
Watch the film, really happy with the way our guys again responded. In the game against Tulane, there was a lot of different challenges in that game. Some things that we've got to correct, certainly. A lot of growth that still has to happen, but I think we're trending in the right direction, especially here heading into Big 12 play.
They're playing well. I mean, there's no question about that. Their offense is very talented. They got some guys that are, like here, they're making a lot of competitive catches and making plays for him, but he's doing a great job of getting the ball in their hands.
After a huge first quarter scoring OU's first 2 touchdowns, freshman CeeDee Lamb was ejected from the game. He was called for targeting on a reverse in the second quarter. Owen Field erupted in boos from Sooner fans, but since the call was made in the first half, Lamb will be eligible to play the entire game against Baylor Saturday. OU soccer traveled to California this weekend, facing off against UC Berkeley in San Francisco. The Sooners' struggles continued in the Golden State, losing 2-0 to the 17th ranked Bears and 3-1 to San Francisco. Their record moves to 2-7-1. When it rains, it pours, literally and figuratively, for the Dallas Cowboys Sunday in Denver. The Broncos shut down Ezekiel Elliott. He finished with only 8 yards on 9 carries. The rest of the Cowboys offense didn't fare much better. The Cowboys defense struggled after losing 2 cornerbacks to injury early, while Denver's quarterback Trevor Siemian played the best football he has played. He matched career highs with 4 touchdown passes. And Kevin Durant tried to defend himself on Twitter last night, but he messed up. KD tweeted things like he didn't like the organization. KD couldn't win a championship with those cats from his verified Twitter account. Many people, including myself, think that Durant meant to send the tweets from a different fake account.
Yeah, I think so.
I mean, I'd hope so. I mean, how do you have that much time if you're him? Honestly, like, you have better things to do.
It's very petty.
It's really embarrassing.
All right, well, thank you, Tori. And still to come on OU Nightly, the Air Force has quite a few candles to blow out.
I'm Tatum Wilson at the OU Nightly Update Desk. An appeals court has upheld the decision to revoke the medical license of a Tulsa doctor. Tamerlane Rosa is accused of overprescribing drugs and practicing under the influence of alcohol or opioids. Rosa has also been fined $30,000. And 5 people in a pickup truck were killed late last night when they crashed into a creek in northeastern Oklahoma. Those killed in the accident included 4 18-year-olds and 1 19-year-old. The cause of the crash has not been determined. That's it from the Update Desk. Back to you in the studio.
Thank you, Tatum. And the U.S. Air Force is celebrating its 70th birthday today. Planes and aeronautics have been part of the military even longer than 70 years, but the Air Force wasn't its own branch until 1947. President Harry Truman signed the National Security Act, and that resulted in the formation of the U.S. Air Force.
I love a good story like that. 70 is not that old, though, Joe.
No, but you know, it's I guess a pretty big moment for that group. I mean, even though
for the United States.
Yeah, of course. And since that's a little fun fact, you have something with weather today.
Yes. So Maria is the 3rd Category 4 hurricane in the Atlantic Basin in the past 30 days. So it's a very active season.
It has been a really, really active season.
We're at the peak of hurricane season.
Well, it can only get better from here.
Very
Hopefully.
scary.
Knock on wood.
There are a lot of people who are ready for it to end.
Thoughts and prayers.
We're one of them.
Well, thanks for watching OU Nightly, brought to you by Gaylord College at the University of Oklahoma.
We'll see you back here tomorrow night live at 4:30.
Have a great evening.
Good night.
Then we'll like to talk.